The stars above Earth shone with quiet indifference, as if they had no part in the chaos brewing below. Yet humanity had never felt so small, and at the same time so keenly alive. For centuries, humans had reached beyond their home world, sending probes, colonists, and scientists into the farthest corners of the solar system. They had dreamed of the stars. And now the stars were speaking back, but not with curiosity or friendship. It started with a message. Not a simple signal, but a broadcast so massive it flooded every planet, every station, every listening post humanity had built. The aliens did not hide their power. Their words were clear, their meaning unmistakable. Cease your expansion, withdraw from the stars, or face complete destruction. In the council hall on Earth, leaders gathered in an unprecedented emergency session. The room was massive, filled with the highest minds in politics, science, and defense. Screens flickered with translations of the alien communique, each word precise, cold, and terrifyingly final. Some council members whispered. Others clutched their seats in disbelief, but none moved to reply immediately. "The coalition does not negotiate," said Admiral Rena Voss, her voice steady but carrying an edge of concern. "They do not care about treaties, diplomacy, or alliances. Their warning is absolute." The humans listened. It was not fear that gripped them, it was calculation. Humanity had always faced challenges that seemed impossible. The planet had survived floods, fires, plagues, and wars. Against each catastrophe, humans had adapted, evolved, and endured. This was no different. Dr. Elias Turner, the Council's chief scientist, leaned forward. "They assume that because our fleets are smaller, our weapons less advanced, we are weak. That is their first mistake, and we cannot make a second." The room went silent. Eyes turned toward him, and he continued. "We have underestimated ourselves for too long. We have survived conditions no other species could. We have built cities in deserts, forests, and frozen wastelands. We have sailed across oceans, flown through storms, and even walked in space. They do not understand human creativity, human persistence, human cunning." Outside the council chambers, news of the alien ultimatum spread like wildfire. Humans across Earth paused, staring at screens that broadcast the same message in hundreds of languages. Fear was natural. Fear is what makes humans sharp. But panic did not take hold. Not entirely. There was something else in the air, defiance. A quiet, steady hum of resolve that had always been the essence of humanity. Meanwhile, alien observers monitored Earth's response. From vast ships that shimmered with a technology incomprehensible to human minds, they noted patterns, communications, and troop movements. They had dealt with countless species before, but humans were different. They seemed unafraid, almost serene in the face of annihilation. This disturbed the aliens more than any weapon. Back on Earth, humans began their preparations, not with a show of power, but with a subtle, methodical readiness. Factories once devoted to consumer goods shifted to building advanced starships. Engineers and scientists worked day and night, creating not just weapons but adaptive technologies that could change according to the situation. Human minds thrived on unpredictability, and their designs reflected that. A single starship could act as a scout, a fighter, or a transport. Networks of drones could operate independently, or as part of a larger swarm. Every small invention had layers of possibilities, unknown to anyone but those who created them. "Why do they think we will surrender?" asked Lieutenant Mara Chen during a briefing. She was young, barely 30, but her tactical mind was already renowned. "We're not the strongest species, but we are the most unpredictable. They can't anticipate what we will do next." Her commander, General Adrian Corr, nodded gravely. "And that is exactly why we must remain calm. Panic is contagious. Confidence is not. Our strength lies in preparation and strategy, not in fear or anger. We show them nothing until the time is right." Even ordinary humans played their part. Citizens in cities across Earth volunteered to join research programs, build infrastructure, or assist with communications. Farmers in rural lands adapted their equipment to produce resources for the expanding fleets. Scientists, engineers, and students collaborated at a pace never seen before, creating solutions that no alien observer could predict. Humanity was turning every corner of its world into a tool of survival, innovation, and readiness. Weeks passed. Alien signals continued, taunting and warning, but humans remained patient. The coalition believed they had time on their side. They assumed that eventually humans would panic, would negotiate, would beg for mercy, and yet humanity did nothing of the sort. Instead, they quietly grew stronger, faster, smarter. On one remote observation platform orbiting Mars, Commander Rena Solis watched the outer space sensors flicker with distant alien movements. Her team was monitoring alien fleets, trying to understand the scale and strategy of the Coalition's forces. "They think their fleets will intimidate us," she said. "But they don't realize that humans are not afraid of what we cannot yet see. We study, we analyze, we adapt. That is how we survive." Her assistant, a young communications officer named Jalen Ortiz, frowned. "But we are outnumbered, aren't we?" "Outnumbered, yes," Rena replied calmly. "Outmatched, no. Humans have always turned disadvantage into advantage. That is not luck, it's instinct, creativity, and persistence. The aliens cannot calculate that. They cannot predict the human mind when it is pushed to the edge." Below the atmosphere, cities continued to buzz with quiet activity. Ships in dry docks were loaded. Fleets in orbit were tested, and laboratories hum with energy. The world moved in unison, connected by a shared knowledge. Humanity had been warned. Humanity would not retreat, and humanity would not fear. In the midst of all this, a message arrived, not from the Coalition, but from a small, unassuming alien craft that had entered Earth's orbit without fanfare. It carried no threat, no weapon. Instead, it projected a holographic form of a diplomat, calm and cold. "I am here to clarify," it said in a voice that carried across all languages simultaneously. "You are not negotiating. You have been observed. Your species is anomalous. Your response to warnings is unusual. It is illogical. We advise compliance." The humans looked at each other. Compliance had never been in their nature. Dr. Elias Turner stepped forward. "You may advise. You may threaten. You may assume we will follow your commands. But we will not. Humanity does not bow. Humanity does not retreat. Humanity survives. That is our reply." The hologram flickered, and for a moment the alien form seemed almost surprised. It had not anticipated such a direct, unwavering response. And though it maintained composure, the observers aboard the Coalition ships could not hide a subtle ripple of doubt. By the time the alien craft departed, human society had already begun to adjust to a new reality, one in which the galaxy had issued an ultimatum, and humans had issued a reply, not with words of fear, not with groveling, but with quiet, calculated defiance. The message was simple. You may have the numbers, the technology, the fleets, but we have something far older and far stronger, the human mind and the will to survive. Across the stars, the echoes of that defiance traveled faster than any signal or weapon. Aliens who had once assumed humanity would be a minor annoyance now began to reconsider. For humans were not like other species. Humans were unpredictable. Humans were resilient. Humans were patient. And when the time came, humans would act with precision that no one could anticipate. In the council chambers, the leaders of Earth finally allowed themselves a moment of quiet. They did not celebrate, nor did they relax. But there was a sense of something remarkable taking shape, a unity of purpose, a quiet confidence that humanity had always carried in its bones. Admiral Voss leaned back in her chair, her eyes tracing the stars through the window above. "They warned us," she said softly, "and we did not flinch. Not because we are fearless, but because we are human. That is enough for now." Outside, the wind rustled through cities and forests alike. Humanity was still small in the vast galaxy, still vulnerable, still challenged. But the warning had come, and humanity's reply had been made. It was cold, calm, and resolute. The debate had not ended with a battle or a surrender. It had ended with a quiet, unwavering statement of intent. And somewhere, across the black stretches of space, alien observers took note. They had sent a warning. Humanity had replied, and already the seeds of doubt had begun to grow in even the most confident alien minds. For the first time, the galaxy realized something that humans had always known, that underestimating humanity was a mistake no species could afford to make. The days following humanity's cold reply were filled with a quiet determination that seemed to hum beneath every city, every research facility, and every fleet station. While the alien coalition expected panic, they saw only calm. While they anticipated bargaining, they saw only planning. Humanity was not afraid. They never had been. In orbit around Earth, the Fleet Command Center was alive with activity. Starships of all sizes floated in their docking bays, their hulls gleaming under artificial light. Engineers, pilots, and programmers moved with purpose. Every action precise, every calculation exact. The humans were not building for war. They were building for survival, and the difference was profound. Admiral Rena Voss walked among the stations, observing the preparations. Her steps echoed on the metallic floors, and she listened to the quiet conversations of engineers discussing propulsion systems, energy shields, and new adaptive technologies. Each ship, each drone, each automated defense system was a testament to human ingenuity. "Have the weapon prototypes been tested?" she asked a technician pausing beside a small drone swarm hovering near the bay. "Twice," the young technician replied, "and each test performed beyond expectations. They adapt to multiple attack patterns, anticipate environmental changes, and coordinate with each other without guidance. They're efficient." Admiral Voss nodded. "Good. Efficiency and adaptability are our greatest strengths. The aliens may have larger fleets, but they do not understand how we fight. That is the edge we hold." Below the orbiting fleet, Earth cities were no less active. Laboratories worked on faster-than-light communication technologies, automated defense systems, and experimental energy weapons. Ordinary citizens contributed as well, helping with logistics, production, and innovation. Humanity had turned its entire civilization into a silent, interconnected network of preparation. In one such laboratory, Dr. Elias Turner and his team worked on a device that could cloak ships from alien sensors, rendering them almost invisible. "They assume we cannot hide," Elias said, adjusting the control panel. "They believe their technology is superior, but they do not account for human creativity. They do not understand that we can turn their own rules against them." Across the solar system on Mars, Commander Rena Solis observed the alien fleets from a remote outpost. She studied the coalition's signals, tracking their movements, analyzing their formations. "They think they are predictable," she muttered to herself. They are not. Her team was small but skilled. Every officer had been trained to adapt, to anticipate, to improvise. Even the smallest decisions mattered. One miscalculation could expose a vulnerability, and humans were ready to exploit it. Meanwhile, on the icy moons of Jupiter, small human research stations tested extreme environments for new fleet technologies. Engineers were experimenting with energy shields that could withstand multiple weapon types, propulsion systems capable of sudden bursts of speed, and automated drones that could work independently or as a coordinated swarm. The coalition had superior numbers, but humans had versatility, and versatility often won over brute force. Lieutenant Mara Chen was overseeing a series of simulations on Earth. "Every scenario we run, every prediction they make is based on assumptions about human behavior," she said, her eyes fixed on the screen. "They assume we panic under pressure. They assume we act predictably. They assume we follow the same rules as every other species, and every single assumption they make is wrong." Her subordinate, Ensign Jalen Ortiz, looked skeptical. "But what if they attack before we're ready? What if we can't respond fast enough?" Mara smiled, a rare softness in her usually stern demeanor. "Then we'll respond faster than they ever imagined. We're humans. We thrive when the odds are against us. That is something no prediction can account for." Back on Earth, ordinary citizens noticed the changes in subtle ways. Schools began offering advanced training in engineering, strategy, and technology. Industries that once focused on comfort shifted to efficiency and innovation. The human race had become a hive of preparation, each individual contributing to the collective survival. Even diplomacy played a role. Humanity reached out to neutral alien species, offering assistance, trade, and knowledge. While the coalition sought to isolate humans, these smaller species began to observe the humans differently. They noticed something unusual. Humans were organized, resourceful, and fearless. Whispers spread among distant worlds that perhaps humanity was not a species to be bullied or underestimated. In orbit, Admiral Voss convened her top commanders for a critical meeting. Large displays projected holographic images of the coalition's fleets, their positions, and their possible strategies. "They expect us to make mistakes," Voss began. "They expect fear to cloud our decisions. But humans are patient. They are not driven solely by instinct or pride. They calculate. They prepare. And that is something no species can anticipate." General Adrian Corr, seated beside her, nodded. "Our fleets are ready in principle, but readiness alone is not enough. We must also cultivate unpredictability. We will move silently, strike precisely, and adapt instantly. The coalition may have experience, but they do not have human imagination. That will be our greatest weapon." Meanwhile, Dr. Turner activated a series of experimental communication arrays. These devices could send false signals, create phantom fleets, and simulate large-scale movements. "We can make them believe we have more ships than we do," he explained to his assistants. "We can manipulate their perception. Their fear is a tool if we use it correctly." On a distant asteroid converted into a mobile command station, Commander Rena Solis coordinated covert surveillance of the Coalition. Using cloaked observation probes, they gathered critical data on alien ship designs, formation patterns, and command hierarchies. Every piece of information, every subtle nuance was logged, analyzed, and turned into strategy. "The aliens are confident," Rena said, her eyes scanning the incoming data. "They assume they understand us. But every time they think they predict our actions, we surprise them. That is our advantage. They cannot calculate creativity, instinct, and adaptability working together." Even in isolated corners of the solar system, small teams were experimenting with advanced tactics. Drones were trained to work autonomously, capable of regrouping instantly when a formation was destroyed. Starships were programmed to execute multi-phase attacks with built-in contingencies. Humans did not just build weapons, they built systems that could learn, adapt, and evolve in real time. Meanwhile, the Coalition continued to send warnings. Their broadcasts were filled with threats, demonstrations of power, and displays of alien fleets moving like dark constellations across the void. Yet humans did not flinch. The warnings only strengthened resolve. People across Earth, Mars, and the outer colonies went about their tasks with quiet focus. Fear was acknowledged, but it was never allowed to dominate. One day, a small scouting fleet returned from the outer edge of human-controlled space. Commander Rena Solis reviewed the data. "They are preparing," she said, "but they are predictable. They have more ships, but their coordination is linear. They assume linear responses. We will exploit that." Admiral Voss nodded. "Good, keep monitoring. We do not strike yet. Patience is our ally. Every move they make, every signal they send, gives us more information. Knowledge is more powerful than weapons alone." As the weeks passed, humans perfected their systems, refined their strategies, and strengthened their resolve. Every ship, every drone, every individual had a purpose. Humanity had turned preparation into an art form. The aliens, confident in their superiority, could not see the hidden layers of human readiness. In a quiet moment aboard Earth's largest command station, Dr. Turner reflected on the efforts. "They think their numbers make them strong. They think fear makes them powerful. But they do not understand the human mind. We do not react like others. We adapt, we innovate, and we endure. That is why humanity will survive, and why they will be wrong to underestimate us." And across the galaxy, unseen by humans, Coalition leaders began to sense a shift. There was an unease, subtle but undeniable. The species they had assumed would crumble beneath their threats now moved with confidence, precision, and quiet defiance. For the first time, they doubted the calculations they had relied upon for centuries. The galaxy had issued a warning. Humanity had listened, but they did not bow. They did not panic. They prepared, they adapted, and they waited. And when the moment came, the Coalition would realize that humans were not just survivors. They were something far more formidable. Because humans, above all, had learned one truth over millennia. When pushed to the edge, they did not break. They fought. They endured. And they did so in ways no other species could predict. The stage was set. The stars above were silent witnesses, and humanity moved in preparation, unseen, unbroken, and unstoppable. Humanity had prepared quietly, like a predator watching the edges of the forest, waiting for the perfect moment. Weeks of observation, strategy, and simulation had honed every fleet, every commander, and every system. The alien coalition remained confident, sending messages laced with threats, confident that humans would eventually falter. But humans did not falter. Humans waited. On the outskirts of the Orion Arm, a coalition patrol moved in formation. Their starships gleamed like metallic storms, each vessel larger than most human stations. From their bridge, alien commanders monitored signals, scanning for any sign of human weakness. Their sensors picked up movement, fleets of small human ships, but the aliens laughed at the numbers. "They are insignificant," the lead commander said. "They will scatter under pressure." Unseen by the coalition, human fleets had already deployed a network of cloaked observation drones. These drones were not weapons. They were intelligence. They mapped every formation, measured every energy signature, and recorded patterns. Every predictable action of the coalition was noted, and humans were preparing to exploit them. Commander Rena Solis stood on the bridge of her flagship, the Horizon's Edge. Her hands rested on the controls as she watched the enemy fleet in real time. "They think we are small," she said calmly to her officers. "They think we are weak. They are wrong." Lieutenant Mara Chen studied the holographic projection of the coalition formation. "They are advancing too fast," she observed. "They are confident. That is our advantage. Overconfidence leads to mistakes." Admiral Raina Voss, observing remotely from Earth Command, spoke through the fleet's communication network. "Remember, do not engage recklessly. Observation first, preparation always. We strike only when the advantage is absolute. Patience is a weapon." The first encounter was subtle, almost invisible. A small human squadron positioned itself near a supply convoy of the coalition, using asteroid fields as cover. The convoy assumed humans were too small to pose a threat, moving casually through space. But the humans had calculated the exact timing, trajectories, and environmental factors needed to maximize disruption. Without warning, drones deployed from the human ships targeting the convoy's communications and navigation systems. Lights flickered across the coalition vessels as systems overloaded in rapid, synchronized sequences. Chaos erupted as the aliens struggled to regain control. The human squadron stayed in the shadows, striking only briefly and then retreating before the coalition could respond. From a distance, Admiral Voss observed the results with satisfaction. "They think they can predict us," she said. "But we are not predictable. We adapt, we learn, and we respond faster than they can calculate." The coalition scrambled additional ships to respond, but humans had already anticipated this. The cloaked observation network revealed every maneuver before it happened, allowing human fleets to stay one step ahead. Every time the aliens tried to surround or flank, humans used environmental advantages, asteroid belts, magnetic fields, and gravitational anomalies to outmaneuver them. On Mars, General Adrian Corr oversaw another aspect of the strategy. "We are not seeking open battle yet," he explained to his staff. "Our goal is disruption, observation, and information gathering. Every mistake they make is data for us. Every overconfident move strengthens our position." Meanwhile, humans in orbit around Jupiter's moons were testing new adaptive weapon systems. Ships equipped with energy shields that could shift their frequency mid-battle proved capable of absorbing strikes that would have destroyed standard human vessels. Autonomous drones coordinated attacks with near-perfect efficiency, learning from every failed maneuver and adjusting instantly. The aliens, confident in their brute force, could not comprehend the adaptability they faced. In a remote corner of Saturn's rings, a human intelligence team intercepted coalition messages. They revealed panic among certain alien units. The small, precise attacks combined with unpredictable maneuvers had caused confusion. Some alien commanders questioned their orders. Some doubted their own calculations. Humanity had achieved something remarkable without engaging in full combat. They had caused hesitation. Commander Rena Solis studied the holographic projection of coalition fleet communications. "They are questioning themselves," she said quietly. "That is the first step toward victory. Fear is not always loud. It is often subtle, quiet, and corrosive. And we are masters of subtlety." On Earth, scientists continued to develop technology that could manipulate the battlefield, arrays that could create phantom fleets, signals that could simulate mass movements, and energy weapons that could disrupt multiple systems at once were ready for deployment. Humans were not relying solely on ships and soldiers. They were using ingenuity, adaptability, and strategy as weapons. The coalition decided to respond with a show of force. Their largest battleship moved into position near the human colonies in the outer solar system, intending to intimidate and crush resistance. However, the humans had prepared for such an eventuality. Using a combination of cloaking, diversionary signals, and decoy fleets, they drew the alien flagship into a trap. Lieutenant Mara Chen coordinated the maneuver. "Keep them focused on the decoys," she instructed. "The real fleet is hidden. Wait for my signal, and then strike simultaneously at all exposed points." The coalition flagship advanced, confident in its power, but human drones had already infiltrated its systems, subtly interfering with navigation and energy distribution. When the human fleet struck, it was precise and devastating. Systems failed, engines faltered, and the flagship was forced into retreat. Other coalition vessels were left disoriented, unable to coordinate properly. From Earth Command, Admiral Voss watched the outcome with calm satisfaction. This is why humans survive. We do not rush blindly into battle. We prepare, we observe, we adapt, and when the moment is right, we act decisively. Across the galaxy, the coalition leaders were stunned. The species they assumed would be intimidated, that they assumed would crumble under threats, had done something no one expected. They had turned survival into strategy, fear into preparation, and numbers into a liability. Humanity's ability to anticipate, adapt, and respond with precision was rewriting the rules of engagement. Back on the horizon's edge, Commander Solis surveyed the battlefield through her window. "We have shown them what humans can do," she said quietly. "Not with brute force, but with intellect, patience, and adaptability. That is why we survive, and that is why no one should underestimate us." In the following weeks, humans continued to refine their strategies. Every encounter, every skirmish, every simulation provided new data. Humans had learned to predict not only enemy movements but also enemy mistakes. The coalition's larger fleets, once confident and imposing, were now hesitant, unsure, and divided. Even the civilians contributed. Scientists, engineers, and ordinary citizens worked tirelessly, building new fleets, upgrading systems, and providing logistical support. Humanity had transformed into a silent, coordinated organism capable of remarkable feats. They were small compared to the coalition, but they were precise, adaptable, and unstoppable in ways no one had anticipated. Lieutenant Mara Chen reviewed reports from across the solar system. "They think fear will control us," she said. "They think we will retreat under pressure. But every move we make, every strike, every calculation proves that they are wrong. Humans do not bend. Humans do not break. Humans adapt and endure." Commander Rena Solis nodded. "And this is only the beginning. The first encounter of conflict is never decisive. It teaches both sides who they face. And now they know that humans are unpredictable, clever, and relentless. That knowledge alone will shape the rest of the war." Admiral Voss's voice came across the comms network. "Prepare for the next phase. Maintain observation. Keep disruption ongoing. The coalition underestimates us still. That is our advantage. And when the moment comes, we will strike decisively. Humanity does not attack recklessly. Humanity attacks with precision and purpose." The galaxy had sent its final warning. Humanity had listened, observed, and prepared. And when the first encounter of conflict arrived, it had demonstrated one immutable truth. Humans were not only survivors, they were innovators, strategists and warriors in a way no species could predict. Across the stars, the echoes of humanity's first strike spread quickly. Coalition fleets were no longer confident, no longer assured. They had met humans in battle, and humans had responded with ingenuity, patience, and brilliance. The galaxy realized, perhaps for the first time, that humans were not just another species. They were something different, something extraordinary, something to be respected and feared. Commander Solis looked out at the dark expanse of space. The stars seemed distant, silent, and indifferent. Yet humans had carved their presence among them. They had survived the first confrontation, not through sheer force, but through intellect, strategy, and unity. And this survival was more than physical. It was a message to the galaxy. Humanity could not be underestimated, controlled, or defeated easily. The first battle was over. The real challenge had only just begun, and humanity, as always, would meet it with calm resolve, ingenuity, and an unyielding will to endure. The silence of space was deceptive. From the distant edge of the solar system to the orbiting colonies of Mars and Jupiter, humans had prepared their fleets not for mere defense, but for a calculated offensive. They had studied the coalition, mapped its habits, predicted its reactions. And now, the moment had arrived. Commander Rena Solis stood on the bridge of the flagship Horizon's Edge. Around her, every officer, every navigator, every technician knew their role. "Today," she said quietly, "we show the galaxy what humans can do when they act with precision, patience, and unity." The first target was a vital supply line deep within coalition-controlled space. It was a massive convoy transporting fuel, weapons, and personnel. The coalition assumed it was safe. Their scouts had detected nothing unusual. Humans, however, had cloaked entire fleets nearby and deployed small observation drones, feeding false signals to confuse enemy sensors. Lieutenant Mara Chen monitored the holographic projections of the convoy's route. "We have identified weak points in their formation," she said. "If we strike here and here, we can disable the lead and rear ships, trapping the rest." Dr. Elias Turner, aboard a support station in orbit around Saturn, initiated the sequence. Communications arrays sent a series of deceptive signals, simulating multiple human fleets approaching from different directions. Coalition sensors went into chaos, attempting to track phantom ships while ignoring the real fleet hidden in shadow. Without warning, humans struck. Drones swarmed in precise coordination, disabling weapon systems and energy shields without destroying hulls. Starships maneuvered flawlessly, their shields absorbing every counterattack. In less than an hour, the convoy was immobilized, captured, and neutralized. Humans had not destroyed, it was not their goal, but they had made the coalition fleet vulnerable and confused. Across the solar system, the human population followed the news. Citizens were not cheering for bloodshed, they were marveling at ingenuity, discipline, and the brilliance of human strategy. Engineers, pilots, and scientists worked in synchronized efforts, knowing each victory was built on preparation, patience, and foresight. Admiral Voss addressed the fleet through secure channels. "Observe what we can do when we act together, with intelligence and creativity. This is what humans do best. Not panic, not reckless force, precision, adaptability, and unity. Remember this. Every decision you make, every maneuver you execute reflects the strength of humanity." The coalition scrambled its nearby fleets to respond. Their confidence had been shaken by this unexpected strike. They had underestimated humans once. They could not afford to underestimate them again. But every move they made was anticipated by human strategists. Cloaked observation fleets, drone networks, and adaptive starships allowed humans to outmaneuver and outthink their opponents continuously. On Mars, General Adrian Corr oversaw the coordination of multiple fleets converging on coalition strongholds. "Do not underestimate the value of observation," he instructed. "Our strength lies not only in our fleets but in our understanding of their weaknesses. Every hesitation they show is an opportunity we exploit." Human ingenuity extended beyond weapons and fleets. On Earth, scientists developed systems capable of interfering with coalition communication, creating delays, misdirection, and confusion. Even when coalition forces were numerous, humans could turn their own systems against them. Commander Solis watched the holographic map. "They are losing control," she noted. "Every reinforcement they send gets delayed, every command confused. They are not prepared for a species that adapts faster than they can calculate." The second strike targeted a coalition research station orbiting a distant star. This station was critical for developing new weapons and intelligence systems. Humans executed a coordinated assault. Drones disabled shields, fleets surrounded the station without being detected, and precision attacks disabled core systems. Within hours, the station was neutralized. No human vessel was lost, and the coalition had yet another shock to digest. "Observe and learn," Mara Chen said as she watched the results. "This is the difference between intelligence and power. The coalition relies on brute force. Humans rely on strategy, adaptability, and understanding. That is why we prevail." Across the galaxy, whispers began to spread among neutral species. Reports from scouts and traders described human precision, creativity, and unpredictability. The same species they had assumed would be insignificant was now a force of strategic brilliance. Back on Earth, citizens continued their contributions. Factories produced more ships, engineers upgraded drones, and scientists refined energy weapons. Humanity's entire civilization had become a single, coordinated organism. And yet the effort was not frantic or chaotic. It was methodical, focused, and unyielding. The coalition's leaders grew increasingly worried. Their previous confidence was replaced by uncertainty. How could a species they considered primitive anticipate every move, every weakness, and every countermeasure? The answer was simple. Humans did not fight like other species. They adapted. They learned. They created solutions in real time. Admiral Voss addressed the fleet again. "Our strikes are effective not because we have more ships or more firepower, but because we use what we have intelligently. Remember this lesson. Every engagement is not about destruction but control. Every decision is not about panic but precision. That is why humanity survives. By the end of the month, human forces had disrupted multiple supply lines, neutralized key outposts, and demonstrated capabilities that the coalition could not ignore. For every strike, humans had adapted their tactics, creating unpredictability and confusion. The aliens realized a dangerous truth. They were facing not just warriors, but thinkers, strategists, and innovators working in perfect harmony. Commander Solis gazed at the stars, calm but resolute. "We have begun to show the galaxy who we are," she said. "Not through recklessness, not through fear, but through precision, intelligence, and patience. This is the human way, and it will define the rest of this conflict." The first major offensive was over, but its effects reverberated across the galaxy. Coalition fleets were reorganizing, cautious and hesitant while humanity prepared for the next phase. The message was clear: humans could not be intimidated, outnumbered, or outthought. They were clever, adaptive, and relentless. And the galaxy had only just begun to understand what that meant. The coalition had hoped intimidation would be enough. Their fleets were massive, their weapons advanced, and their confidence unwavering. Yet humanity had proven otherwise. Each strike, each maneuver, each clever tactic had shown a simple truth: humans were not easily defeated. From the command deck of the flagship Horizon's Edge, Commander Rena Solis observed the distant coalition fleets, hesitant and uncertain. They were no longer moving with confidence. Their communications were slower, their formations cautious. They had learned what humans were capable of and feared it. Admiral Rena Voss addressed the fleets across the solar system. "Our patience has turned the tide. They assume fear will control us. It does not. They assume numbers will intimidate us. They cannot. Humans endure, adapt, and innovate. That is our greatest strength. Prepare for final communications. We will make our intent clear." A single message was prepared, concise, cold, and precise. Humanity had no need for threats, no need for boasting. The message contained a simple fact: any further aggression would meet decisive retaliation. Humanity did not beg, negotiate, or fear. Humanity acted, and humanity was ready. On distant colonies, engineers and scientists monitored preparations. Ships were cloaked, drones were active, and energy grids were primed. Every fleet, station, and facility moved in coordinated readiness, reflecting humanity's singular will. They were a force to be respected, not argued with. The coalition received the message. Silence followed, stretching across the void. For the first time, the aliens considered the possibility that they had misjudged the humans. They had assumed weakness, ignorance, and submission. Instead, they faced a species that had survived threats beyond imagination, that had adapted to every challenge, and that had turned observation, patience, and ingenuity into weapons more deadly than firepower. Commander Solis reviewed the fleet status one final time. "We do not need to strike further," she said. "Our presence, our actions, and our message have already changed the galaxy's perception of humanity. We have not destroyed, but we have commanded respect. That is enough." On Earth, leaders convened one last time before the message was broadcast. Dr. Elias Turner reflected on humanity's journey. "They will know us now," he said. "Not as a primitive species, but as one that cannot be underestimated. That is the legacy we carry into the stars." The message was sent. Across the galaxy, it traveled faster than any fleet or weapon, carrying the calm certainty of humanity's intent. Continued aggression against humans would no longer be tolerated. Any threat would meet precise, unavoidable retaliation. In distant observation points, alien commanders hesitated. They realized the truth. Humans were not a species to intimidate or control. Their patience, adaptability, intelligence, and unity had created a force that no amount of intimidation could break. Across Earth, Mars, and the outer colonies, humans continued their preparations quietly. There was no celebration, no triumphalism. The cold reality remained. The galaxy was vast, challenges would